Give me minds off top. Check the clock.
Week 7 in the books. In the books. And it is 6 o'clock in the morning, California time, and I am here to talk all about it. There's so many things to unpack. Of course, we're going to talk about the Niners and the Chiefs, the Lions and Detroit, Steelers, Russell, like all of it. A lot of injuries too. A lot of bad injuries this week. But let's first talk about the game of the week. And here's my disclaimer. If you're new to this page or new to the podcast, you have to know a couple things about me. One, I'm a die-hard football fan through and through. NFL, 32 teams, love it. I love that there are fans that are passionate and die-hard for their own teams. You will see I have Niner stuff in here. I've got Dallas Cowboy. I have John Madden. I love the game, okay? But do not get it twisted. I am a die-hard 49er faithful. That's how I grew up. My dad raised me that way. I sat in season tickets at Candlestick Park since 1978, so it bleeds deep for me, as many other fans around the league for their team. So anything I say does not make me unfaithful, okay? I am faithful, but I have to call it how I see it. And how I saw it yesterday was no bueno. No bueno. Whew. Let's unpack. The 49ers and the Chiefs, what a game. It was the game of the week. I don't know for a non-fan what that game looked like, but for a 49er fan, it looked atrocious. Okay? Oh my God, there's so much to talk about. But the first thing I want to say is this. Here's my disclaimer. I am a die-hard football fan. I love the game. I love that fans are passionate for their teams. I love the rivalries. I love it all. But yes, I personally was raised a 49er fan from my dad, who took me to the games when I was little. We had season tickets at Candlestick Park, so it runs deep for me, okay? But it doesn't mean that I can't call it how I see it. So everything I'm about to say does not make me unfaithful, okay? Does not make me unfaithful. It makes me honest, and I have to call it how I see it. And that doesn't mean I don't love my team. It doesn't mean that I don't believe in my team. It just means we had a horrible game yesterday, and here's why. Couple of things. One, and we're going to talk about the injuries, but one, I do have to say something to the NFL, even though they're probably not watching. I'm just saying, this is just another little caveat. So the NFL, there's been a lot of talks about how they prefer the Chiefs to win because it brings them in more money. The whole Taylor Swift effect, they want the Swifties, millions of fans and whatever. The end of the day, that the Chiefs are favored, and they would prefer the Chiefs to win over the Niners and anybody else, quite frankly. And then I go back to the last Super Bowl, where the accommodations for the Niners at their facility, not good, yet the Chiefs had great accommodations. The Chiefs, I'm just saying, had a lot of offensive holds during the season, and then they had zero in the Super Bowl. These are just facts. These are things that people are talking about, okay? I only say that to say, so if you know that your millions of fans believe that the NFL wants the Chiefs to win, why would you give them a bye week before the rematch of the Super Bowl? Again, which some people could say is favored. That means that, again, you're giving them a little bit more favor. Because for some of the newbies out there, a bye week means you get to rest. And when you get a week off and you get to rest, that's a big deal in the NFL. They circle the bye week. People get to be with their families, the coaches, you get to for whoever's hurt, they have time to get healthy. There's a ton of reasons of why the bye week is an advantage. And why did the Chiefs get that advantage? We'll never know. These are just facts. The 49ers lose to the Chiefs 28-18, and what was supposed to be this amazing matchup was quite the ugly game for both sides. However, the difference is 10 points and the Chiefs getting the win. Listen, the injuries were on both sides. So you've got CMC out, best running back in the league for the 49ers, which they prepared for. They knew he hasn't even played this season. You got Juwan Jennings, who's like their wide receiver 3. He's out, but like is a big part of the offense. He is like third, and Juwan, it is like the go-to, the ace in the hole. He's out, which they prepared for. But what Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the 49ers, did not prepare for was Debo being sick right before the game, not being able to play, and then Brandon Ayuk going down in the first half. Okay? So Brandon Ayuk, $30 million dude, holdout. Won't even get into that. But now he's out. So you've got wide receiver Ricky Parcell, who was just shot in August and almost could have died. You got him, his first game in the NFL, and Ronnie Bell, and didn't go well. It didn't go well. Brock Purdy, this was the worst game I've ever seen. I just have to call it how I see it. And being that you know that I love the game of football, you know that I love passionate fans who are passionate for their teams. You know that is like, if you look on our Instagram, you see all teams, all people, because I love the game. I love the rivalries. I talk about not just the Niners. I talk about the rivalries with the Dallas Cowboys. I love the rivalry with the Raiders. All of this. And I only say that to say I am diehard faithful. So everything I'm about to say does not make me unfaithful. I woke up still riding for my boys, like all the faithful do, right? But we have to call it as we see it. And this is how I see it. And I've said this several times. The Chiefs have the best, well-coached team in the NFL. It is what it is. And the players are just in sync. They're having fun. Even when they don't play good, they're having a blast out there. You can see it. Patrick Mahomes is having fun. Okay? And Brock Purdy looks nervous yesterday. He looked, and maybe it's because both of his wide receivers were out. I don't know. I don't know how. I am sure that it affected the game calling for the Niners, because you prepare for Brandon Ayuk and Debo, and now they're both out. But Mason is still doing his thing, and then I'm thinking, okay, it's George Kittle. It's the George Kittle in the middle show. Like, let's go. And I didn't see that. I feel they didn't use George enough after 2 of your star players go down. Why don't you go to your other star player more? I would have liked to have seen that, but we didn't. The defense for the 49ers did not look like, you've got like Fred Warner, one of the best linebackers in the league. You got Nick Bosa and nothing. I don't remember seeing Patrick Mahomes on his back. I don't remember. I mean, there was a few times he got ran out of the pocket, but like we're not getting to him. I don't know. I guess, I've talked about it several times about the coaching. One of the reasons why I think the Chiefs are so good is because they've had their defensive coach Steve Spagnuolo. I always say his name weird, but he's been with Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs for 5 years. They have been together coaching this team for 5 years. That is a big deal to me. I've said it several times, because the Niners, for instance, and this is with a lot of teams, Every time you've got like a good defensive coach or a good offensive coach and you start getting in the spotlight, all of a sudden these other teams want to give these guys a position as a head coach. So then the defensive coaches and the offensive coaches, they leave because of course they want their own team, right? But why not stay on a good team, try to get some Super Bowl wins, get some money in your pocket, and not have the extra headache of being a head coach? Robert Saleh. Just throwing it out there. But, the Niners have gone through several defensive coaches. You got Nick Sorensen now. You had Robert Saleh. You had DeMeco Ryans. But they don't stay very long. So it changes the scheme. It changes the coaching. It changes a lot. So I have to give it to the Chiefs. The Chiefs, even when they don't play well, they get the win. And right now, the three-peat is on the horizon. Because if you can win when you have a quarterback rating of 33, which in my book is considered an F, if this was a test or an essay, and you still win, who's going to beat them? And I've said it last week. If not now for the Niners, when? Well, I didn't know Debo was going to go down, and I didn't know BA was going to go down. I didn't know that. But this is a rivalry that is continued. The Chiefs right now own the Niners. It just is a fact. All right, let's talk about the Sunday night game, and that was the Steelers versus the Jets. What a game. First of all, if you don't know, there was a little bit of a quarterback controversy with Russell Wilson coming in his first start this year. A little bit of backstory. It's a lot to talk about. But Russell Wilson, vet quarterback with the Seattle Seahawks, got a Super Bowl, ends up going to the Denver Broncos, doesn't do well. The Broncos decide to get a head coach that can, get them some wins, and that's Sean Payton, who's from the Saints, goes over to the Denver Broncos and clearly does not want Russell Wilson to be his quarterback. It is very clear. They do not like each other. He thinks Russell Wilson needs to stop kissing babies. Literally, he said that. Wants to take, Russell Wilson's office away. Just not good. So anyway, Russell Wilson becomes a free agent, ends up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, so that's going to be their guy. But then, no, the Steelers go and get Justin Fields as another quarterback who's not doing well with Chicago. So you got two quarterbacks who's kind of not doing well all on one team. And it is they're a battle to see who's going to win the starting job. And Russell Wilson seems to be that guy, but then he gets hurt. So now you got to put Justin Fields in. Justin Fields goes in, and now they're 4-2. They're actually doing well. And then Russell's better. So what do you do if you're a coach? Do you stay with the quarterback who's actually got you in first place, 4-2? Or do you go and say, no, I'm going to let this guy go back in because now he's better? Well, everybody said don't let him back in. And then no, Mike says, no, I'm going to let him back in. And Sierra's husband, Russell Wilson, comes in. And now he is the guy for Sunday night's game against Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams' debut as a couple, bromance, back together. And what happens? Russell Wilson does okay. And he gets the W. And Mike Tomlin could look at the media and all the haters and say, I don't listen to y'all. I do what I want. I do what I want because I'm a winning coach, and I'm going to do what I want. You're not going to tell me what I'm going to do. So maybe you knew something that we didn't know. But Russell was back. He looked like Russell, and they get the W. And I swear, I think the cameramen love nothing more than to wait to look at Aaron Rodgers when they know that he's losing and get that meme. And they just wait for it. And we didn't get the towel over the head last night, but you did get Davante Adams looking like he looked with the Raiders. And there's memes going around. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me go back for like a minute. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, okay? He is supposed to like come back to the Jets and get them to the Super Bowl. And he played 4 snaps last year, and he's here now. Did everything he could to get off those crutches and help his team, but he didn't. And now he's here with the New York Jets, and he's literally become like the owner, really, because he's running that team. We all know this. Got Robert Saleh fired, got a new coach, brought in Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator. He got Lazard. He's like pulled in all his buddies to get the Jets to the Super Bowl. And now he went out and got his old buddy, his old pal from Green Bay. They used to play together. You know, Aaron Rodgers was a quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, and his wide receiver, one of them was Davante Adams. And here they are. He's like, go get Davante, because Davante is like had it with the Raiders. You know, he was supposed to play with his buddy, Derek Carr. Derek Carr gets shipped off to the Saints. So now he's got Jimmy G. Didn't work out very well. He's like, literally, get me out of here. I'm going to get killed, while Jimmy G was quarterback. And so Jimmy G's out. Now you got like Aiden O'Connell and Minshew. So, you know, Aaron Rodgers is like, go get my boy. So they do. They go get Davante Adams. And so here's their first game together on a Sunday night versus Russell Wilson. Let's ride, but no, let's weld in Pittsburgh. And they lose. And it wasn't pretty either. The Jets looked like good in the first quarter. And then like it was downhill from there. Whew. Steelers, 24 points in the second half, unanswered. The Jets like just fell apart after halftime. Like just fell apart. And so now you've got Davante Adams who leaves the Raiders, who are 2-5, and now he's with the Jets that are 2-5. So that is going to be interesting. As a New York Jet fan, I'm sure they're beside themselves. So, the Jet fans and the Niner fans are probably both drinking extra cups of coffee. No bueno. Then you have the Detroit Lions versus the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota's at home in front of all the Skull Nation. I think that's what you call them, the Skull Nation. Skull. Okay. Anyways, they are there in Minneapolis. And wow, that comes down to a field goal, I believe. And the Detroit Lions win it in the last few seconds of the game. And those two teams, compared to the Niners and the Chiefs, completely different story. You've got both those quarterbacks looking good. Like literally Goff, 22 for 25, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Sam Darnold used to be seeing ghosts with the Jets. Did not play well with the Niners. Panthers, like this guy has been through it, but yet he is 22 and 27, 259 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He loses the game, but at least he's playing well. And I'm all about an underdog, and I love to see it. I love to see a guy who never gave up on his career, never gave up on himself, finds himself in Minnesota after Kirk Cousins leaves Minnesota to go to the Atlanta Falcons. Sam Darnold's their guy? What? Like, that was not, I don't think anyone saw that coming. And not only is he their guy, he is doing well. Him and Justin Jefferson are doing big things over there. And so I don't know what's going to happen in the NFC. You've got Detroit and the Lions, Green Bay. I don't know. I think this is going to be interesting as it comes down to the wire. But let's talk about some other things around the league. Injuries. It's hard. Deshaun Watson, okay, the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, gets hurt, and his own fans boo him. And then you've got press conferences from Myles Garrett, Jameson Winston, who's on his team, backing him up, basically condemning the fans who booed him while he was being carted off the field with most likely an Achilles injury, season-ending injury. And I want to take a minute to talk about that because here's how I see it. I'm actually shocked that they were outspoken about the boos for their quarterback. I mean, maybe I'm not completely shocked, but I'm a little shocked. Because what they were saying is, here's a guy who has given his all. He has, given everything for the last 4 years for this team and blah, blah, blah. Okay. But here's what I think those fans are booing about is the fact that he's got like 26 plus sexual allegations against him that he wrote checks for. In fact, I am shocked that he's even allowed to be a quarterback in the NFL. I'm just being honest. And what I was really shocked about, this is not a political rant. I'm just giving facts. You've got 26 to 30 allegations against you that you make go away, and then the Cleveland Browns sign you to like a $200+ million deal. In fact, he was kind of one that started these like big checks for the quarterbacks, if I'm not mistaken. And the owner, part owner, whatever, is actually a woman. And I always wondered, like, how do the women fans feel about Deshaun Watson being your quarterback? I don't know. Not even just the women, though, the men too. Because the boos, a lot of men. So are they booing because he's been playing horrible? Or are they booing because she should have never been there in the first place? Or are they booing because of both? And sadly, the boos came out during an injury, but maybe they're just finally like venting how they feel. And I think they let the Browns know how they feel. But most likely he'll be out. So we'll see. Where's Flacco? Can they pull him from the Colts? Like, I don't know. Like, who are they going to bring in? That'll be something to watch. Another injury that we don't ever like to see injuries. I don't care who it is on, but Jaden Daniels, rib injury. Oh my goodness. I hope he's going to be back. I mean, the Commanders have so much to be excited about. So definitely want to keep your eye on that. Brandon Ayuk, as we know, ACL injury, probably season ending from what it sounds like. And the last thing that we want to talk about is Saquon Barkley. Saquon was on the New York Giants for years. He was a staple on that team, one of the best running backs in the league. Gets traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, the rival team, which is so weird. Mind you, he wanted to stay a Giant, a New York Giant. And the Giants had zero faith in him, had no care or concern, and get rid of him. And send him to the Eagles, which is wild. Normally, teams send players to like somewhere where they're not going to see him again. But no, they sent him to the Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles win 28-3. And Saquon has an amazing game. 176 yards. That is a revenge game if I've ever seen. And I don't know, 17 carries, 10.4 average yards. Saquon Barkley comes back and does his thing against his former team. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. I don't know. I just feel like, these guys have a chip on their shoulder. And when you get rid of them and you ship them off to another team, you don't think that game's not circled on the calendar when the schedule comes out? And he goes back into New York wearing green. Fly, Eagles, fly. Oh, yeah. And you don't think his teammates want him to have the game of his life? They sure do. They sure do. And he sure did. So Saquon has a day, and the New York Giants end up benching their quarterback, Daniel Jones. Nightmare for the Jets. I mean, nightmare for the Giants and the Jets, actually. A nightmare for all of New York right now, other than, no, actually, because the New York Mets are out too. So the only thing they have going for them right now are the Yankees. And I know I just switched sports on everybody, but the World Series is going to be the New York Yankees and the LA Dodgers. I mean, that is like a dream come true for the Major League Baseball. So I don't know how I just switched, but my point is, I love games. I love sports. I love the football, the NFL. And here we go, man. Week 8 is upon us. Week 8 is upon us. So, as always, keep it sexy.
I can walk that walk, I can talk that talk. Give me mine.